We'll call the Planning Commission to order on July the 10th at 5:30. Any public comments?
Don't think we
I
have
don't
any.
think so. Okay, does anybody want to motion to approve the minutes of May 8th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 8th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay,
Zach Robbins,
Yes.
Stephen Harrison,
Yes.
and Brent Limford.
yes.
Perfect.
Next, we're going to discuss the possible action on the request to review the safety plan. Staff, do you have any information for us?
Yes, I got a quick PowerPoint. As indicated, this is the city's comprehensive safety action plan. Back in 2023, the city was a recipient of a grant through the Safe Streets and Roads for All. And the grant allowed us to develop this. It was a $250,000 grant, of which $50,000 was the city's share, and then the $200,000 was the grant. We went through the request gosh, I cannot speak tonight. Proposals process in early 2024 to select a consultant. Kimberly Horn was selected as the consultant. So they have worked with staff as well as the steering committee that was developed for this to get us to this point. The plan is obviously going through your guys for a review and recommendation, and then it would go to the city council for formal adoption. I'm going to go through a PowerPoint to kind of go through, well, maybe, thought it was on. Oh, there we go. I think it's delayed. So, there we go. Kind of an overview of what we have. The plan is made up of 6 chapters. It gives a kind of a rundown of the safety in Guthrie. Chapter 2 is the process and engagement. As I indicated, there was a steering committee that was developed, which included not only city staff, but the public schools, as well as ODOT, the chamber, and a number of other organizations in the community that would have a vested interest. Chapter 3 details all the crash history that was that they got through different sources. Chapter 4 identifies the high injury network, and then 5 is countermeasures, and then finally 6 is basically the action plan on how we can look at adding some safety elements. Takes a minute, maybe. I don't know. Oh, there we go. All right. The safety framework, and a lot of this comes from the actual Safe Streets for All and that, but there's the 6 E's of safety, which are engineering, education, evaluation, equity, enforcement, and encouraging. And those are all of what's kind of used throughout the document, and at the end you'll see some of those used for different possible measures. You know, like encouraging is more of the maybe doing social media and that, and tell them, you know, kind of the seatbelt thing, the click it or ticket type stuff and that. Whereas where you have actual, you know, engineering is pretty much what it says when you make physical changes to whether it's intersections or areas in that. Also part of this is the Vision Zero, which is basically a program to try to get to 0 fatalities in any type of transportation network. And one example is, you know, the traditional approach is traffic deaths are inevitable. Vision Zero says traffic deaths are preventable. In that, and so the same thing, perfect human behavior, we look at now where when we start to look at the Vision Zero, we realize that human behavior is not perfect. You know, there's going to be things, and so we need to look at options to help with that. The mission statement that was specifically for our Safety Action Plan was developed by the steering committee, and it states, create a culture of safety that promotes a safe, multimodal transportation network for all ages and abilities through community education, policy, and infrastructure improvements to eliminate fatalities and injuries on Guthrie's roads. So that was kind of an overlying, I guess, sentiment that was taken into account when the plan was being done. I don't know which button I keep hitting that doesn't work or work. Oh, there we go. The guiding principles that were specific to this were schools, growth, downtown, speeding, bicycle and pedestrian, and then post-crash care. I won't go through each of them, but as you can probably figure out, schools are simply that. Look at more options to make it safer for kids to get to and from school, from whether it's a biking standpoint, pedestrian standpoint, even a car standpoint. Growth, as we all know, we're seeing growth, probably the most growth that Guthrie's had in its history in that, so we have to take into account how that's going to affect the transportation network and the safety. The downtown, as we all know, a lot of those intersections are not the most visible, probably not the most safe, because we have an environment that was, in 1889 created, and we're in 2025 with a lot of how we look at transportation. Speeding, that's always an issue. Bike and pedestrian, again, looking to increase the safety for those, that type of mobility. And then even post-crash care, where getting the training and that emergency services, so when there is an accident, it can get there, and we also have personnel that can treat it. So hopefully we don't have any fatalities. There we go. As I indicated, there was the steering committee that was developed, and I think we had four or five steering committee meetings that usually took place right here in the council chambers. They were probably about 2 hours long each time, but we went over a lot of different exercises so we could find out, again, the high injury networks and really the areas in the community that would need further evaluation. There we go. There was also some community engagement. We had from the beginning a survey that was on the website that we spread throughout social media and other means to get people to do the survey so we can garner better support from the citizens. We had a booth at the Wine Festival in October, which we had, again, a lot of information. People can put some of their concerns literally pinpoint on a board. And then Touch a Truck here in May, we had basically the draft for people to look at, as well as other information pertaining to it. In the crash analysis, I'm not really going to go through it, but there obviously was the crash analysis, the most available through most of ODOT and the areas that the grant said you had to take information from was between 2017 and 2021. Some of that information through the state, they're updating and will be as current as I think 23 or 24, but right now that's what we had to work with. Oh, there we go. So with all of that, as I indicated, there was a high injury network that was developed. And probably for most anybody that lives within our community, you can probably figure out what that is without really even going through all this. But it, was basically South Division from the downtown all the way to I-35. Noble, West Noble, as well as West Noble by South Academy. In and around the I-35 and Noble interchange there, Pine Street North, which is one of the ways to get to the high school, and even by like Walnut. Perkins was on there because there was a fatality that happened, I think a bicyclist, I forget when, but there was a fatality, so it popped up. But The high injury network is about 8.5% of the total road network. So, you know, it is kind of compressed into a smaller area. So now when we're looking at the plan, this is an example of the recommendations page. And this is the portion of West Noble out by South Academy. And you'll see there, it gives some of the information, but then there's also some recommendations like better lighting, add left turn lane, better pavement markings, and even maybe install a signal. So every area that we have that's in that high injury network, especially along that area, will have similar type recommendations. And then finally, there we go. And then there's kind of a toolbox, and this gets to some of the things like where, again, better crosswalk visibility and looking at, maybe, as it says, the pedestrian hybrid beacons, maybe more sidewalks, roundabouts, maybe a roadway reconfiguration. But it kind of lines up with, you know, what the emphasis area is, and then again, some of the possible ways to put it. So, you know, it's not always going to require us to go and, again, completely tear up an intersection and improvement. Just maybe enhancing some of the crosswalks, or whether it's more signage, whether it's, you know, creating lighted, more lighted crosswalks, adding sidewalks where we don't currently have sidewalks, and things like that. So I think that was it. Oh, yeah. So the time frame is, there's the action plan, which goes back to what I was saying before, where you may have something where, you know, work with law enforcement to determine the feasibility of enhanced enforcement, you know, in some of the pedestrian areas. And so that would fall under enforcement, and it has like some of the partners who would be working with that. And then you may have engineering, you know, where you update a master trails plan or conduct assessment of an intersection and things like that. And so again, it'll have a some action items, and again, this is specific to bicycle and pedestrian type stuff, but those areas will all have again an action plan. And then, so the next step is, again, it's here for your review and recommendation for adoption. After this meeting, it will go to the first meeting in August to the City Council. And then if they adopt it, we will obviously have this plan available. It will also open up opportunities for us to seek federal funding to hopefully implement some of these aspects in our community. But before we could tap into that money, the first thing was to have a plan in place. So with that, I'll give it back to the commission if you have any questions, concerns.
Anybody want to discuss anything? Talk about it?
Dan, did anything stand out for you?
Probably the biggest thing that stood out is through the surveys, there was, I think, it came back about 74% of the community was in favor of better pedestrian and bike safety actions, whether that meant bike lanes or, again, sidewalks or different stuff like that. So I was, you know, very surprised but happy that the community seems to want to improve the pedestrian and biking infrastructure in our community. So I think a lot of these, as we move forward, will have some good public support.
And modifying to add bike lanes to existing roads, is that something that would take?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because, yeah, and especially like with South Division, we have plenty of right-of-way there, even the physical built right-of-way, to where, you know, you could look at somewhat of a maybe lane diet type of thing and put bike lanes and even protected bike lanes in that. So, but in some cases, you know, we could start out with simply just, you know, painting some bike lanes and work towards that. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I've got one. I see in here under speeding, deploying speed monitoring technologies. What does that mean? Are we talking about cameras on street corners and that type of deal, try to catch people speeding?
No. What it would really be is kind of what we're already doing and have done, where you have the little trailer that sits out there and it says speed limit 35, and they're going down and it starts flashing because you're going 45. Or even having on the actual pole or sign itself where you'll see, you know, it'll have the same type of thing. So it's just to give recognition for people to slow down. So that's really what it means about technology, and that it could even lead to where we have crosswalks that would light up when you would push a button, but things like that using technology, but definitely not having something where we would have, you know, a camera taking pictures and sending you tickets.
No monitoring?
No monitoring, no,
Yeah,
no.
okay, all right.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say?
Go ahead, anything.
No.
Okay, does somebody want to move to accept them?
I'll make a motion to approve, send it forward.
I'll second that.
All right.
Okay.
Zach Robbins,
Yes.
Lloyd Lentz,
Yes.
Stephen Harrison,
Yes.
and Brent Linford.
Yes.
All right, 4-0.
Do you have any more comments?
Nope, I do not.
Okay, does anybody want a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.